This is the shocking case of Claire Mitchell, the flight attendant whose dream honeymoon in Bora Bora turned into a nightmare when her husband, airline pilot Daniel Cross, brutally ended her life. This story will take you deep into paradise, uncovering jealousy, hidden abuse, and a crime that stunned the world. If you love true crime and want to hear more cases like this, support this channel by staying active, dropping a like, and subscribing right now. Your engagement keeps stories like Claire's alive and helps us keep uncovering the truth. Claire Mitchell had always been the person everyone admired, bright, ambitious, and endlessly kind. Growing up in a small California town, she had dreamed of traveling the world, and becoming a flight attendant turned that dream into reality. It was during one of her long-haul flights that she met Daniel Cross, a pilot with a charming smile and a quiet confidence that instantly drew her in. Their relationship seemed like something out of a romantic film. Spontaneous weekend trips, dinner dates in different cities, and photos from exotic locations that made their friends envious. Daniel was the kind of man who opened doors, bought flowers, and spoke about the future like it was already written. Within a year, he proposed during a sunset on a beach, and Claire said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was elegant and intimate, with friends and family gathered under a canopy of lights as the couple exchanged vows. Social media lit up with photos of their first dance, their perfect smiles, and the promise of a future that seemed too good to be true. For Claire, this honeymoon was supposed to be the start of a new chapter, the moment when the whirlwind slowed down and they could simply enjoy each other without distractions. As their plane descended into Bora Bora, she gazed out at the turquoise water, feeling like she had stepped into a dream. The excitement in her chest was almost childlike, and she couldn't stop picturing all the quiet moments they would share, morning swims, candlelit dinners, and nights falling asleep to the sound of waves. No one around her could have guessed that this perfect love story was about to take a very dark turn. When Claire and Daniel arrived at the resort, the staff greeted them with flower leis and cool drinks, setting the tone for what should have been a perfect getaway. Their overwater bungalow was breathtaking. Glass panels in the floor revealed colorful fish swimming below, and the private deck looked out over miles of calm, crystal-clear lagoon. Claire unpacked her suitcase carefully, laying out her new summer dresses and swimsuits she had bought just for this trip, while Daniel poured them champagne from the welcome basket. The first day was blissful. They lounged in the sun, snorkeled together, and took photos with the iconic mountain backdrop, laughing as they tried to capture the perfect shot. Claire uploaded a post that night with the caption, "Paradise with my love," and hundreds of likes rolled in within minutes. Resort staff noticed how affectionate Daniel seemed, always touching her hand, brushing sand off her shoulder, and smiling warmly at her. To everyone watching, they were the picture of newlywed happiness. That evening, they had dinner on the beach under lanterns, the ocean breeze making everything feel magical. Claire savored every bite, every detail, believing she was living the happiest moment of her life. As the sun set, painting the sky orange and pink, she thought about how lucky she was to have found someone who shared her love for travel and adventure. The first night ended with them sitting on the deck, feet dangling over the water, listening to the sounds of the island. It felt perfect, like nothing could disturb this bubble of joy. But beneath Daniel's smiles, something was already beginning to shift, something Claire was too blissful to notice. By the second day, the flawless surface of their honeymoon started to show small cracks that no one else could see. Claire woke early, hoping for a quiet morning swim, but Daniel stayed in bed, scrolling through his phone with a cold expression. When she returned, still dripping from the lagoon, he asked sharp questions about who had taken her photo the day before and why she smiled so brightly in it. His tone was not playful but suspicious, as if her happiness without him was somehow threatening. Claire brushed it off, trying to keep the day light, and suggested they rent paddleboards. The activity started out fun, but witnesses later recalled hearing loud splashes and raised voices coming from their section of the water. Back in the bungalow, neighbors reported hearing furniture scraping and something heavy hit the floor. When housekeeping entered later, they found a broken glass under the bed and a chair turned over, though Daniel dismissed it as an accident caused by slipping on wet floors. Claire posted fewer photos that day, and the ones she did share looked different. Her smile was thinner, her eyes more guarded. At dinner that night, Staff noticed she barely touched her food, staring off into the distance while Daniel spoke at length, almost as if he was lecturing her. The mood between them felt strained, though no one could quite put a finger on why. What had started as a romantic dream vacation was beginning to feel tense, as though something dangerous was lurking just under the surface, waiting for the right moment to break through. On the third night, the atmosphere at the resort shifted from warm and carefree to uneasy. Daniel appeared at the bar alone, ordering strong cocktails one after another. Guests who spoke with him later recalled how his mood seemed strange. He was overly talkative at first, then suddenly quiet, staring at nothing for long stretches. He mentioned that Claire had gone to bed early, claiming she was tired from the day's activities. Staff members thought it was unusual that a honeymoon couple would spend the evening apart, but no one pressed him about it. When morning arrived, Claire didn't show up for breakfast. At first, staff assumed she was sleeping in, but as hours passed, concern began to build. When housekeeping came by to clean the bungalow, they noticed something odd. The bed was unmade in a way that suggested a struggle, and there were faint streaks of blood near the bathroom door. A towel left on the floor looked like it had been hastily used to wipe something. The manager was immediately alerted, and resort security locked the area down while contacting local authorities. Guests watched from a distance as police boats arrived, breaking the stillness of the lagoon. Tension spread through the resort, whispers growing louder as rumors circulated about what might have happened. Some guests swore they had heard shouting late that night, but no one had gone to check. The once idyllic honeymoon suite was now sealed off, treated as a possible crime scene. With Claire nowhere to be found, fear began to ripple through the resort, turning the tropical paradise into a place filled with suspicion and dread. A few tense hours later, the nightmare everyone feared became reality. A member of the resort staff, scanning the area near the bungalows, noticed something drifting just beneath the wooden deck of Claire and Daniel's villa. At first, they thought it was debris from a storm, but as they looked closer, the shape became horrifyingly clear. It was Claire. Her body floated face down, her pale skin contrasting against the turquoise water. Staff rushed to pull her out, and the scene that unfolded was unbearable. She had deep bruises around her arms and neck, as if someone had gripped her with violent force, and a severe head wound that left no doubt foul play was involved. The resort immediately went into lockdown. Guests were ordered back to their rooms while police and paramedics arrived. The once serene waters were now filled with investigators and flashing lights, turning the postcard-perfect view into a grim tableau. Shock spread quickly, with whispers filling the air as vacationers clutched each other and speculated about what had happened. The staff who had served the couple just the night before were in tears, unable to comprehend how such brutality could happen in a place meant for love and celebration. Investigators began photographing the bungalow, collecting every trace of evidence. They bagged the bloodied towel and took samples from the deck, where they found drag marks leading toward the water. Claire's body was taken to the local morgue for an autopsy, leaving behind a heavy silence that seemed to settle over the entire island. The paradise that Claire had dreamed of had transformed into a crime scene that no one would soon forget. The investigation moved quickly, as local police understood the international attention a case like this would bring. Daniel was immediately questioned, sitting on the deck of the bungalow with his head in his hands while officers searched every corner of the villa. He told them Claire had been drinking and slipped while leaning over the deck late at night, falling into the water. He claimed he had gone to bed and only realized she was missing when he woke up. At first, investigators considered the possibility of a tragic accident, but the evidence told a different story. The autopsy revealed multiple blunt force injuries to Claire's skull, consistent with being struck more than once, as well as bruising on her wrists and defensive wounds on her hands. This was no fall, it was a violent struggle. Inside the bungalow, police found a blood-stained towel stuffed behind the toilet tank, as if someone had tried to hide it. Daniel's knuckles were swollen and scraped, and forensic teams matched his fingerprints to blood smears found on the deck railing. Even more damning, surveillance footage from the resort showed him leaving the bungalow around 1 a.m., carrying what looked like a heavy object wrapped in a sheet, before returning nearly 30 minutes later. Witnesses confirmed they heard something large splash into the water around that time. The picture became clearer with every hour. What had at first been seen as a tragic accident was now officially classified as a homicide, and the focus of the investigation shifted entirely toward Daniel as the prime suspect. The paradise he and Claire had chosen was now the site of his undoing. As investigators dug deeper into Daniel's past, a far darker picture began to emerge. Friends and colleagues from the airline industry came forward with unsettling accounts. Several ex-girlfriends described a pattern of jealousy and control that often turned into verbal and physical outbursts. One woman claimed she had ended things with Daniel after he smashed her phone during an argument, accusing her of texting another man. Another recalled how he once left bruises on her arms during a drunken fight. None of these incidents had ever been reported to police, which explained why Daniel had a clean record that made him appear like the perfect husband on paper. Claire's close friends were also interviewed, and they revealed messages she had sent just days before the wedding. In them, she confessed that Daniel could be moody and easily angered, but insisted she believed marriage would calm him down. She wrote that she sometimes felt nervous around him when he was drinking, but loved him too much to walk away. Investigators pieced together a timeline showing that the couple had argued multiple times during the honeymoon, with several witnesses hearing shouting from their bungalow. All of these details painted a chilling motive. Daniel's jealousy had escalated beyond control, fueled by alcohol and isolation, until it ended in Claire's brutal death. The evidence was damning and left little room for doubt. For the first time, Daniel's polished image as a successful, composed pilot completely shattered in the public eye. The case was no longer just a tragic headline. It became a cautionary tale about hidden abuse lurking behind a seemingly perfect love story. Daniel's arrest sent shockwaves through the resort and quickly made international headlines. The image of the handsome pilot being led away in handcuffs contrasted sharply with the smiling wedding photos that had flooded social media just weeks before. His trial was scheduled within months, and by then the case had attracted massive media attention. Reporters packed the courtroom each day, broadcasting every detail to a public hungry for answers. Prosecutors laid out their case with precision, presenting the forensic evidence, autopsy findings, and security footage that showed Daniel leaving the bungalow at night. They argued that his jealousy had turned violent after an argument, and that he had struck Claire multiple times before disposing of her body in the water, believing he could stage it as an accidental fall. The defense team tried to create doubt, suggesting Claire might have slipped during a heated confrontation and that Daniel panicked, but the physical evidence made that claim hard to believe. The jury listened to testimony from Claire's friends, her family, and even resort staff who described hearing frightening sounds coming from the bungalow. Each new witness seemed to push the narrative closer to one conclusion. After several weeks, the jury deliberated for less than a day before returning a guilty verdict. Daniel showed little emotion as the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was filled with tears, both of grief for Claire and relief that justice had been served. The trial was over, but the impact of the crime was only beginning to ripple outward into the lives of everyone connected to the case. In the months that followed, Claire's murder became one of the most talked about cases in the media. Documentaries, news specials, and online forums dissected every detail, from the couple's whirlwind romance to the chilling evidence that had sealed Daniel's fate. For Claire's family, however, the coverage was a painful reminder of everything they had lost. They channeled their grief into action, launching the Claire Mitchell Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping victims of domestic abuse escape dangerous relationships before it is too late. Airlines where Claire had once worked held memorial flights in her honor, with crew members wearing pins bearing her initials. Travelers and flight attendants across the country shared her story as a cautionary tale about ignoring red flags in relationships. The Bora Bora resort struggled to recover from the tragedy, with many guests canceling reservations for months. The bungalow where the murder took place was eventually dismantled, but some visitors still claim the area feels strangely cold at night, as if the memory of what happened lingers in the air. True crime enthusiasts and journalists continued to debate Daniel's state of mind, with some arguing that his jealousy and controlling behavior were warning signs that should never have been ignored. Claire's story became a tragic symbol of how quickly a romantic dream can turn into a nightmare. For her family and friends, The only comfort came from knowing that her death had brought attention to a silent epidemic and might save others from the same fate. The paradise she had once called the start of her forever would forever stand as the place where her life was stolen too soon.